Jadi saya menerjemahkan dalam bahasa Indonesia.
I'll be speaking in English and Indonesian if you don't mind.
Saya akan berbicara dalam bahasa Inggris dan Indonesia kalau saudara tidak keberatan.
Sekarang bahasa Indonesia.
Now I'm speaking in Indonesian.
I love my country so bad.
Saya mencintai negara saya.
That God sent forth us here to witness His goodness and His mercies upon our lives as a family.
Saya berterima kasih kalau Tuhan mengirim saya di sini untuk bersaksi tentang kebaikan dan kesetiaan Tuhan dalam hidup saya.
Saya bersama istri saya di sini dan kami sebenarnya ini bukan hal yang mudah bagi kami untuk ada di sini.
Me and my wife here is actually not easy. It's kind of difficult for us to be here.
Dan hanya karena rencana Tuhan kami boleh bergabung di gereja Anda.
And it's only because of God's plan that we are here today.
Saya bersyukur tadi malam ada acara di Seattle University.
I'm thankful for the event last night in Seattle University.
Dan tadi malam sangat sukses acaranya. Terima kasih doa Anda.
And it's very successful. Thank you for your prayer.
Kami di Seattle hanya dalam waktu sekitar 4 atau 5 hari, kami akan kembali tanggal 8.
So we're only gonna be here for 4 to 5 days. We're going back to Indonesia on the 8th.
Ya orang berpikir kok cepat banget mau liburan. Wah, kita nggak liburan, kami punya misi.
So people said, oh, how come it's so short for a vacation? But we're not here for a vacation, but we have a mission here.
Nah, sebelum saya lanjutkan bagaimana Tuhan membentuk hidup kami, saya ingin mengundang istri saya untuk menyampaikan kesaksian hidupnya.
And before I continue to share to you how God has molded my life, I want to invite my wife to share about her testimony.
Ya, Mrs. Sitohang.
Mrs. Sitohang.
Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Melissa. You can call me Caca.
Halo semuanya, nama saya Melissa. Saudara bisa memanggil saya Caca.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here and it's an honor to serve the Lord.
Saya sangat berbahagia bisa ada tempat sini. Adalah satu kehormatan untuk bisa melayani Tuhan.
Ya, saya akan sharing tentang kesaksian saya, bagaimana saya mengikut Tuhan untuk pertama kali.
I'm going to share about my life testimony on how I follow the Lord for the first time.
Ya, saya mau cerita background dulu, latar belakang keluarga saya.
I wanted to share to you about my family background first.
Ya, saya lahir dari keluarga Muslim. Saya anak bungsu dari 5 bersaudara.
So I was born in a Muslim family. I was the youngest of 5.
Ya, dan sampai saat ini semua keluarga saya masih tetap Muslim.
And up till today, all my family are still Muslims.
Ya, jadi di sini saya mau cerita bagaimana pertama kali Tuhan memperkenalkan dirinya kepada saya.
I wanted to tell you how God introduced Himself to me for the first time.
Ya, jadi waktu itu tahun 2001 awal saya bekerja di satu perusahaan penerbangan nasional di Indonesia.
In the year of 2001, in the beginning, I was working in national aviation company in Indonesia.
Dan saya ditempatkan di Bali.
I was placed in the city of Bali.
Ya, jadi di sana saya kontrak untuk bekerja selama 5 tahun.
So I signed a contract to work for them for 5 years.
Dan saya waktu itu sebagai pramugari.
And I was working as a stewardess.
Yes. Dan saya ditempatkan bersama teman-teman seangkatan saya waktu itu dan dalam satu tempat yang sama untuk tinggal gitu. Jadi kami tinggal di apartemen bareng.
So I was placed with all my fellow workers in an apartment together.
Ya, saya percaya bukan kebetulan. Jadi saya memilih untuk tinggal bersama teman saya yang Kristen. Dia Kristen.
So I believe that it's not a coincidence. I chose to stay with my friends that was a Christian.
Iya, jadi kami punya satu ruangan di apartemen yang biasanya tuh untuk ruang tamu, tapi karena kami jarang terima tamu, jadi kami ganti jadi seperti ruang buku, ruang baca, ruang musik, taruh-taruh CD dan waktu itu masih ada kaset. Jadi untuk kami sama-sama baca tuker-tukeran gitu.
So we changed the guest room back then because we don't have many guests to become a room for music and tape. And back then there's still tape recorder a cassette tape. If you've never seen one, you can ask the older people here. I can tell you what it looks like.
Iya, jadi teman saya ini dia punya banyak koleksi buku-buku rohani, kemudian Alkitab dia pajang semua, terus ada lagu-lagu puji-pujian dan saya biasanya suka tukeran buku tapi buku-buku yang lain gitu sekuler.
So my friend has a lot of collection of Christian books and Christian music, Christian CDs, the Bible and everything. I also have books, but my books were secular books.
Iya. Suatu hari saya lagi nggak terbang, saya lagi nggak kerja, saya diam di rumah dan dia lagi nggak ada. Waktu itu saya sendirian. Saya karena belum biasa jauh dari keluarga, pertama kali bekerja dan jauh. And then saya ngerasa memang lagi ngerasa kesepian banget gitu.
So one day when I was not working, I was at the house by myself. No one was around, and for the first time I was away from my family, so I felt kind of lonely and homesick.
Iya, saya coba lihat-lihat buku teman saya itu gitu. Saya lihat kok ini rohani semua ya gitu. Tapi waktu itu saya merasa gini, oke, saya mau dengerin musik aja deh gitu. Tapi saya lihat juga semuanya rohani gitu. Akhirnya saya memilih untuk ambil satu CD instrumen karena saya suka musik.
So I looked through her books and I was wondering, oh my gosh, all her books are spiritual books. So I decided to listen to spiritual music. So, but all the music were also spiritual music. So I pick a CD that is instrumental CDs because I love music.
Ya, jadi di situ saya pilih instrumen piano dari Joseph S. Jafar. Dia musisi rohani. Saya waktu itu nggak tahu dia sama sekali, nggak tahu lagu-lagu apa. Tapi saya digerakkan Tuhan untuk ambil itu dan saya dengerin di kamar dan di mobil.
So I pick a CD as a piano CD by Joseph S. Jafar, and which is a Christian musician. I didn't know who he was before, but I was moved by God back then to take that CD and listen to it.
Ya, jadi saat itu saya udah mulai suka. Entah kenapa saya merasa ini kok musik bikin damai sejahtera yang nggak pernah saya rasakan sebelumnya. Saya waktu itu belum ngerti kata damai sejahtera, sukacita, tapi saya ngerasa beda.
So I began to feel something different. Back then I didn't know what peace was, but as I listened to the music, I felt peace, and I didn't know what joy was, but there was something different about the music that pulled me in.
Ya, sampai akhirnya saya mulai lagi untuk saya digerakkan untuk mengambil Alkitab yang ada di lemarinya dia. Saya awalnya untuk tahu aja gitu, ini nih kayak apa sih cerita di Alkitab tentang Adam dan Hawa atau nabi-nabi yang lain yang selama ini saya tahu dari kecil.
So I began to take the Bible. At first it's because of the curiosity. I wanted to know about the story that I heard when I was younger about Adam and Eve, Moses, and all that story.
Iya, jadi saya mulai buka dari Kejadian. Saya lihat cerita tentang awal mula dunia dijadikan oleh Allah gitu, dan saya kaget. Wah, ternyata ceritanya seperti ini yang nggak pernah saya tahu sebelumnya. Sampai akhirnya karena saya hobi membaca juga, jadi saya kayak ngelihat ada cerita baru dan novel gitu. Jadi saya pikir, wah seru nih, nextnya apa lagi gitu.
So I began to open the book of Genesis and I read about how God created the world, and I was amazed because this is different than what I've heard before. And because I like fiction, I began to read the next chapter and the next.
Sampai akhirnya saya bilang sama teman saya itu, namanya Maureen, Maureen saya bawa ya Alkitab kamu, terus dia kaget banget, hah gitu.
Until I told my friend Maureen, I said, Maureen, I'm going to take your Bible, and she was so shocked that I said that to her.
Terus dia bilang, ya udah nggak apa-apa kok, saya punya yang lain, dia bilang gitu. Terus saya mulai baca di kamar. Yang tadinya seneng main sama temen gitu, kalau makan selalu rame-rame sama geng saya gitu, itu saya selalu nolak gitu, nggak deh, saya di kamar aja, karena saya pengen baca lagi gitu, seru banget gitu. Walaupun ada bagian-bagian di Alkitab Perjanjian Lama itu yang saya kurang ngerti, tapi bikin saya penasaran terus.
So usually I hang out with my friends, my gang during lunch, eating together, but I began to spend time in my room alone. When they asked me out, I said, no, I'm just going to be in my room, because I was pulled in to read more about the Bible, even though there are a lot of things that I didn't understand.
Ya. Sampai akhirnya pada prosesnya adalah saya membaca Alkitab itu sampai 6 bulan selesai, masuk Perjanjian Baru itu selesai. Yang tadinya saya pinjam Bible-nya saya itu, sampai akhirnya saya cari sendiri di toko buku dan saya lingkarin satu-satu dari awal, huruf-hurufnya, angka-angkanya, nomornya, sampai selesai itu 6 bulan baca Alkitab.
So until I finished reading the Bible in 6 months, and I bought my own Bible and I started to number and circle the Bibles, and I read from the beginning to the end for 6 months.
Waktu itu saya bawa Alkitab juga kalau saya lagi terbang ke luar negeri kemana, saya bacanya diem-diem. Kalau misalnya lagi ada teman yang satu angkatan yang dia tahu saya Muslim, tapi baca Alkitab nanti jadi aneh kan gitu.
So I secretly started to read the Bible when I had a job to fly. I brought the Bible with me, but I secretly read it because I'm a Muslim, and if there's any other Muslims, they're gonna ask question seeing a Muslim reading a Bible.
Ya. Dan prosesnya selama 6 bulan itu memang saya merasa sekali bahwa saya itu dijamah saat itu oleh Roh Kudus. Saya belum tahu, saya belum kenal Roh Kudus saat itu, tapi saya ngerasa kok saya nggak ngerasa kesepian lagi ya. Padahal saya sendiri saat itu, dan mungkin teman-teman saya melihat saya agak menarik diri dari mereka, tapi saya nggak ngerasa sendirian.
So back then I felt that the Holy Spirit touched my life, even though I don't know who the Holy Spirit was. And I didn't feel lonely anymore. Even though I pulled away from the friendship of my friends, I was physically alone, but I didn't feel alone.
Ya, karena background saya tadi adalah saya anak bungsu, saya biasa dikelilingi oleh keluarga dan kakak-kakak saya ngerasa sendirian. Bahkan di Bali pun saya cari teman-teman tuh untuk mengisi rasa kosong saya gitu. Jadi tiba-tiba saya merasa ada yang beda dengan saya saat itu. Saya ngerasa lebih mandiri, lebih nggak butuh yang lain selain membaca Alkitab dan mendengarkan lagu rohani itu.
So because I was born as the youngest of 5, I feel the need of my siblings to be with me, and therefore when I went to Bali, I surrounded myself with friends because I want them to fill out the emptiness in my heart. But because of the Bible, I felt like I'm more independent and I don't need anything else to fill my life because the Holy Spirit, God has filled my life.
Ya, pada saat saya mulai membaca itu, saya juga diajar Tuhan untuk berdoa. Waktu itu saya sudah tidak melakukan lagi ritual agama saya yang dulu.
So as I began to read the Bible, God also teach me to begin to pray. Back then, I didn't follow my old religion's ritual anymore.
Saya nggak bisa berdoa, tapi waktu itu saya punya teman sesama pramugari yang Kristen, terus dia bilang, "Ca, kalau orang Kristen doa itu nggak textbook," dia bilang, "kita bisa ngomong kayak kita ngomong sama orang gitu. Jadi kayak kamu misalnya ngomong sama papa kamu, saya kesepian, pas saya lapar, so simple gitu," dia bilang. Jadi apa adanya aja kamu ngomong sama Tuhan.
In the beginning, I didn't know how to pray, but I have a friend that is a Christian that works together with me, and she said, in Christianity, praying is not textbook, but it's like talking to your dad and telling him that you're lonely, that you're hungry.
Ya, sampai akhirnya saya 6 bulan itu setelah membaca firman, saya baca di Perjanjian Baru Tuhan Yesus bilang, kamu harus dimateraikan. Waktu itu saya mulai bergumul dalam hati, Tuhan, saya gimana ya sekarang, hati saya percaya Yesus, tapi saya juga nggak siap untuk perubahan dalam hidup saya, pasti ini akan tekanan banget deh buat saya belum bisa.
So as I began to read in the New Testament, I felt that the Lord told me that I need to be born again. I need to confirm my life, but I felt a struggle because I know if there's a change in my belief and the outside world were not ready to accept this change, and I was not ready.
Saya sempat berpikir, udahlah saya simpan dalam hati saya aja, Tuhan tahu, yang penting aman dengan keluarga dan teman-teman.
So I just kept that in my heart. The most important thing for me is God knows my heart. I believe in Him, but I want to be safe with my family as well.
Tapi Tuhan bilang, Caca, kamu nggak bisa diam-diam karena terang nggak mungkin ditutupin dengan apapun.
But the Lord told me that you cannot hide the light. You cannot hide the light. You have to show the light.
Ya, sampai akhirnya saya doa, Tuhan, saya mau deh dibaptis. Tapi tunjukin di mana saya mau dibaptis, karena saya nggak punya teman, dan ini saya jaga banget rahasia ini supaya nggak nyampe ke telinga keluarga saya di Jakarta.
Until I decided and I told the Lord, okay, I want to be baptized, but show me where to be baptized, because this is a secret that I have kept and I'm trying to keep it from my family.
Sampai akhirnya Tuhan suruh saya untuk datang ke satu gereja besar di Bali, GBI Lembah Pujian di Denpasar. Terus saya datang ke sana, itu hari tutup sebenarnya, tapi saya coba telepon dan diterima dengan baik, dan mereka bilang, oke, kamu datang ke sini bawa baju ganti, konseling 2 jam and then dibaptis.
So until I found a big church in Bali called GBI Lembah Pujian, and then I called them in a day that they're actually closed, but they accepted me and they said, just bring a change of clothes, we will counsel you for 2 hours and then we can baptize you.
Puji Tuhan waktu itu saya tahun 2003 waktu itu, saya bulan September akhirnya dibaptis tanggal 13.
So praise the Lord, and on September 13 in the year of 2003, I was baptized.
Dan memang benar ternyata itu adalah bukan akhir tapi adalah awal.
And that was not the end, but it was the beginning.
Awal dari semuanya, termasuk awal dari segala tekanan dan permasalahan.
And it was the beginning of all the problems, of all the pressures that I experienced in life.
Tekanan pertama adalah dari keluarga, karena akhirnya teman-teman saya tahu saya pergi ke gereja dan sudah dibaptis. Bahkan sebagian dari mereka menjauhi saya. Saat itu saya jadi bahan gosip di kantor.
So the first pressure came from the family because finally they knew that I went to church and I was baptized. And the first one, some of my friends didn't even want to be friends with me and they gossip about me in the office.
Kakak saya yang paling pertama itu dia pramugari juga di Garuda, tapi yang di Jakarta. Jadi gampang banget dia bisa dengar semua tentang saya di Bali.
My eldest sister is also a stewardess in Jakarta with Garuda, so she also knows what's going on with my life in Bali.
Sampai akhirnya keluarga saya datang ke Bali secara tiba-tiba untuk tanya saya langsung. Waktu itu saya belum berani menyatakan iman saya, sampai akhirnya saya memilih untuk berbohong. Saya bilang, oh saya ke gereja cuma karena teman saya Maureen, saya anterin dia dan saya jemput lagi. Dan orang-orang lihat sepertinya saya ke gereja, tapi saya bohong sebenarnya.
So my family suddenly came to Bali to ask me personally if it's the truth that I went to church. But back then I was so afraid to confess my faith, I lied. I said I was just taking my friends Maureen to church and picking her up afterwards. So it seems like I go to church, but actually I didn't.
Tapi sekali lagi Tuhan bilang sama saya, Caca kamu harus berani ngomong. Walaupun memang sulit, tapi kamu harus berani ngomong.
Until the Lord told me that you have to be bold to confess your faith.
Waktu itu saya baca di Perjanjian Baru yang menyatakan bahwa if you have faith as small as mustard seed, it will be nothing impossible for you. Saya bilang, ya Tuhan saya mau deh ngomong dan declare kalau saya Kristen, nggak apa-apa saya dijauhin semua orang.
Sampai akhirnya, jadi bahasa Indo. Until I read in the New Testament and it says, kalau engkau mempunyai iman sekecil biji sesawi, maka tidak ada yang mustahil buat kalian. So I said, Lord, okay, I'm ready, I'm going to confess my faith.
Tapi memang ikut Tuhan tuh nggak gampang. Tuhan sendiri yang bilang, kalau kamu mau ikut saya, kamu harus pikul salib, sangkal diri. Itu yang saya alamin saat itu.
But it is not easy to follow the Lord because the word says that if you want to follow me, you have to carry the cross and crucify your flesh.
Sampai akhirnya keluarga saya ambil tindakan, kakak saya memanfaatkan posisinya di Jakarta untuk rayu chief saya yang di Bali untuk saya di grounded selama 3 bulan dengan alasan untuk tarik saya balik ke rumah.
Until my eldest sister used her position to talk to my chief in Bali to make them grounded me for 3 months so that I could go home to Jakarta.
Akhirnya saya ditarik pulang untuk 3 bulan itu. Saya ditahan di rumah. Kemudian mereka masih secara baik persuasif untuk ngomong sama saya, kenapa kamu begini, kenapa begitu. Tapi saya memilih untuk diam aja.
So for 3 months I was grounded at home. And my family nicely still persuade me and ask me, why did you do this? Why did you do that? To influence me to go back to my religion.
Semua barang-barang pribadi saya ditahan, termasuk Alkitab saya, kemudian handphone semua dicek sama keluarga.
All my personal belongings were being taken away, including my Bible and my cell phone. They checked everything.
Tapi karena mereka melihat saya keras banget gitu, nggak nurut sama mereka, sampai akhirnya papa saya bilang, kamu kayaknya harus dibawa ke pesantren deh, karena dia punya teman lah banyak.
So because they see my stubbornness that I'm strong in my faith, and my dad told me that I need to take you to, what is pesantren? Oh, Muslim boarding school because he owns one, punya ya? Oh, his
Punya
friend.
teman-teman di situ.
His friend owns one, so they think that she needs to go there.
Saya waktu itu takut banget, saya nggak mau ke situ. Jadi saya cuma bisa dengerin, waktu itu belum ada iPod ya. Jadi saya dengerin Walkman. CD rohani saya waktu itu. Jadul.
Yeah. So I was so scared. I didn't want to go to that Muslim school. So what I did is listening to music through my Walkman. Do you know what a Walkman is? Okay, you're gonna ask. Because back then there is no iPod.
Ya. Terus saya doa di kamar mandi. Oh, sorry, saya skip. Jadi waktu selama saya di rumah itu keluarga saya selalu bilang, kamu kok nggak sholat gitu. Saya selalu beralasan, oh saya lagi nggak sholat. Tapi seminggu 2 minggu begitu terus, ya mereka makin curiga.
So when I was at home, my family asked me how come I didn't do their religious prayer, and then I just said, oh, I'm not doing it. But after a week and 2 weeks, they became suspicious.
Sampai akhirnya saya masuk ke dalam kamar mandi. Waktu itu saya dengerin musik, saya nyanyi di dalam hati gitu. Dan saya doa, Tuhan saya mau keluar dari sini, saya mau pulang ke Bali, saya kangen puji-pujian di Bali. Dan waktu saya di Bali itu saya biasa kalau gereja 3 kali seminggu, saya 3-3-nya datang. Karena saya senang puji-pujian dan saya ngerasa tenang di situ.
So I went into the bathroom with my Walkman and I sing in my heart and I prayed and I said, Lord, I wanted to go back to Bali because I missed the praises. So because back then in Bali, when there's 3 services in a week, I went to all 3 because I love the presence of God.
Terus di situ Tuhan jawab, tiba-tiba papa saya panggil, kemudian saya dan kakak-kakak saya duduk bareng, terus mereka bilang, papa saya bilang gini, saya tahu kamu udah Kristen, di koper kamu ada Alkitab, dan saya tahu kamu di handphone semua isinya Alkitab dan ayat-ayat. Saya kasih kamu pilihan, kamu mau balik lagi dan kita maafkan, kemudian kita anggap selesai, atau silakan keluar dari rumah saya dan tidak saya anggap lagi sebagai anak.
So the Lord answered my prayer, and my dad called me and he said, I know you are a Christian now because I saw there's Bible in your suitcase and in the cell phone there's all scriptures and all that thing. So I'm going to give you a choice today. Either you deny your faith and come back and we will forgive you as if that nothing has happened, or you get out of my house and we will disown you.
Saat itu saya nggak bisa ngomong karena saya tahu saya masih bayi rohani, saya nggak bisa debat tentang Alkitab, kenapa begini, kenapa begitu. Yang saya rasakan cuma damai sejahtera dari Allah dan saya nggak bisa lari dari itu.
Back then I cannot debate because I'm still a baby Christian. I didn't know what to say, but I know in my heart there is peace of God in my heart and I couldn't run away from that.
Saya cuma bilang, Pah, saya mau pulang ke Bali, dalam arti saya tetap dengan iman saya.
And I only say, Dad, I want to go back to Bali, meaning I have chosen my faith.
Papa saya marah banget, terus dia bilang, oke, garis keturunan saya terputus sampai di kamu, dan jangan pernah datang ke sini lagi.
And my dad was so angry and he said, that's it, we are going to disown you, never come back to this house again.
Semua keluarga sedih pastinya, dan waktu itu saya memutuskan untuk segera pulang ke Bali, diantar ke bandara, kemudian saya berangkat dan tiba di Bali itu saya ngerasa sedih banget, tapi ada sukacita yang luar biasa yang Tuhan kasih. Entah, di satu sisi saya ngerasa saya kehilangan keluarga, tapi saya tahu ada yang nyambut saya gitu.
So my family dropped me to the airport, and of course the other families were so sad. And as I got to Bali, I felt really sad, but behind it I have the overwhelming joy as if someone is welcoming me home.
Waktu itu umur saya masih 20 awal, masih muda sekali, dan saya ngerasa nggak punya siapa-siapa karena semua teman juga udah menjauh karena nggak mau ikut terbawa gitu dengan masalah keluarga saya. Dan saya benar-benar ngerasa sendiri, benar sendiri, dan saya pulang ke rumah saya, itu saya nangis, nggak berhenti-berhenti.
I was 20 years old back then and I didn't have no other friends because they didn't want to hang out with me because they don't want to mingle with my family issues. So I was really alone. So when I was there by myself, I cried a lot.
Akhirnya saya memilih untuk kerja sambil terus belajar Alkitab lebih lagi. Saya baca banyak buku rohani, dan dulu sempat ekstrim. Saya pernah setahun nggak baca buku sekuler, saya pernah nggak dengar musik-musik sekuler selain musik-musik rohani selama setahun.
So I just fill my time with work, and I began to read a lot of spiritual books and pray and listen to spiritual music, and I even went on a year without listening to secular music or reading secular books.
Dan Tuhan izinkan saya memang mengalami hal-hal yang tidak menyenangkan. Keluarga waktu itu tarik segala bantuan mereka buat saya selama saya ada di Bali. Kemudian saya harus sendiri pindah tempat, mulai lagi semua dari nol dan sendirian. Jadi nggak ada yang bantu, nggak ada yang nemenin, dan waktu itu nggak punya uang juga karena saya selama kerja saya sering dibantu keluarga, jadi nggak mikirin untuk saving money gitu, habis gitu aja.
So the Lord taught me through this hardship, because my family pulled away all the support, including finances. Back then when I was working, my family still supported me, so I didn't think of saving the money. So I began everything from zero with no support and no finances.
Ya, saya pernah ngalamin nggak punya uang banget di Bali, terus nggak tahu mau ke siapa, terus saya cuma kayak thank God pasti bisa terbang and then bisa makan di pesawat, something like that, yang kayak maluin banget sebenarnya.
So I experienced having no money at all, and I was thankful that I was a stewardess because I get free food on the plane.
Yang dulu sebenarnya nggak pernah saya makan gitu.
Back then I never eat plain food because they didn't taste good.
Ya, tapi puji Tuhan saya dikasih hati yang lunak. Jadi waktu itu ngalamin banyak masalah, tapi justru saya makin kuat cari Tuhan. Bukannya kecewa atau kok Kristen malah gini ya gitu. Saya nggak ada terbersit di hati saya untuk balik aja lagi deh gitu. Karena saya mengalami sendiri, saya udah jatuh cinta sama Tuhan.
So even though I experienced hardship, God breaks my heart, because there was never come into my mind to go back or deny my faith, because I have experienced how it is to love the Lord.
Sampai akhirnya kakak saya masih terus aktif untuk bikin saya jera mungkin ya. Jadi saya diberhentikan setelah kontrak selesai, harusnya ada perpanjangan lagi 1 tahun. Teman-teman saya seangkatan semua lanjut, saya sendiri dan 1 orang lagi yang nggak diperpanjang tiba-tiba.
So my sister still tried hard to through my job. After my contract ended, I supposed to have an extension of contract, but my contract wasn't extended.
Di situ saya sedih banget gitu. Saya bilang, Tuhan, saya di Bali nggak punya uang, and then nggak ada keluarga, nggak ada siapapun, terus nggak kerja sekarang, terus gimana ya Tuhan? Tapi ya itu dia, pemeliharaan Tuhan tuh luar biasa dan nyata, dan pertolongannya nggak pernah terlambat.
So I was asking the Lord, I had no family, I had no money, and I had no job. How am I gonna survive? But that is the amazing thing, because the Lord's provision is never too late, and His help is always there when you needed Him.
Sampai akhirnya saya dipertemukan lewat teman saya yang Kristen juga. Dia punya kenalan gitu, seorang ibu, tante, dia manggilnya tante, dia bilang, Tante, saya punya temen di Bali, perempuan, masih kecil, masih muda, dia nggak punya keluarga lagi karena dia ikut Tuhan Yesus, jadi nggak boleh pulang. Bisa dibantu nggak untuk dilayani?
So until my Christian friend told her friends, an older lady said, Tante is like aunt, I have a friend in Bali that is alone, and because she denied her faith and became a Christian, she has nobody. Can you come and minister to her?
Sampai akhirnya singkat cerita saya jadi dekat sama tante ini. Dia orang pelayanan banget, satu keluarga tuh semua pelayanan. Dia orang Batak, famnya Hutapea. Dan saya udah nggak tahu mau ngapain di Bali. Sampai akhirnya dia bilang, Mel, kamu ke Jakarta aja, kita ketemuan, tinggal sama saya.
So I became close with this older lady and her family. She's a strong Christian, she serves the Lord. And finally she told me, Mel, since you have nothing to do here, let's just go to Jakarta and you can live with us.
Saya tinggal di rumahnya, singkat cerita, saya tinggal di rumahnya selama 2,5 tahun. Saya tinggal di kamar anaknya yang saat itu sedang kuliah di luar negeri.
So I stayed with her for 2.5 years. I stayed in her daughter's room that is going to study abroad.
Ya, dia juga punya anak-anak yang lain, kakak-kakak angkat saya di situ. Dan kami langsung seperti keluarga banget karena di situ mereka nerima saya dan saya merasa nggak ada jarak, padahal kami sebelumnya nggak pernah kenal.
So immediately they adopted me into the family and I felt the closeness even though we do not know each other before.
Saya percaya itu pekerjaan Tuhan, karena kalau bukan Tuhan siapa yang mau nerima orang yang nggak dikenal tanpa pamrih, dan bahkan mereka mengajari saya banyak hal tentang iman Kristiani. Di situ saya belajar tentang mesbah keluarga karena keluarga ini punya habit untuk selalu saat teduh bersama pagi dan malam. Di situ saya baru belajar, oh keluarga Kristen tuh kayak gini.
So I believe that this is the work of the Lord. If not, who would want to accept someone they didn't know? And not only that, they taught me the faith of Christians, how it meant to be a Christian. They are showing me how to live as a Christian family. They have devotions together so that I saw, oh, this is how a Christian family should live.
Ya, saya dan kakak-kakak saya tuh suka diajakin mama angkat saya ini karena dia worship leader, jadi suka nyanyi di mana-mana, dan kami anak-anaknya selalu jadi singer. Jadi kemana selalu diajakin kami untuk nyanyi. Jadi makanya waktu itu untuk ukuran baru kenal Tuhan, lagu-lagu rohani saya udah banyak banget.
So this lady that has become my adopted mother, since she is a worship leader, she always bring the kids, me and my other siblings, to the church to become her singers. So I learned a lot about spiritual songs, Christian songs.
Ya, di situ kami juga diajar dia untuk punya persekutuan doa anak-anak muda, youth community, namanya Bleach, Behave Like a Christian. Di situ kami belajar untuk melayani, and then mengumpulkan teman-teman dari antar gereja, anak-anak muda untuk kumpul di satu rumah yang difasilitasi oleh teman-temannya mama saya.
So she also taught me to minister to the youth, and there's a community that we do call Bleach.
Behave Like a Christian.
Behave like a Christian. And then so there we learn how to minister to other young people.
Ya, di situ saya pertama kali ketemu dengan suami saya. Kita sama-sama pelayanan.
That's when the first time I met with my husband, we were serving the Lord together.
Ya.
Oh yeah, just a guy.
Terus kami akhirnya mulai aktif terus pelayanan, dan 2,5 tahun saya tinggal sama keluarga ini sampai akhirnya saya boleh dipertemukan lagi sama keluarga saya yang kandung.
So after 2.5 years staying with this adopted family, I finally met with my real family.
Awalnya karena kan selama itu keluarga saya lose contact, jadi nggak pernah mau terima SMS atau telepon saya. Tiba-tiba kakak saya SMS, terus dia bilang, mama sakit, kamu bisa nggak datang? Waktu itu saya udah agak trauma sebenarnya karena takut ditahan lagi sama mereka kayak dulu. Tapi Tuhan bilang sama saya, nggak apa-apa kamu pergi Ca, jangan takut. Terus akhirnya saya dan mama angkat doa. Terus mama saya bilang, Tuhan yang akan jaga kamu, kita topang doa, berangkat aja pulang, karena pasti Tuhan mau buat sesuatu buat keluarga kamu.
So because I have lost contact with my family, they never accepted my text or phone call. So suddenly, after 2.5 years, I received a text from my sister that said that my mom is sick. Actually, I was already traumatized because I was afraid that they're going to not let me get out of the house again. But I felt like the Lord tell me, it's okay, you go, because I'm about to do something. So me and my adopted mother prayed together to release me to go to my family.
Dan benar saat saya ketemu mama langsung sehat. Bahkan mama papa saya bilang gini, mereka nggak pernah singgung soal yang selama 2,5 tahun saya kemana, tapi mereka cuma bilang, kamu lebaran tahun ini pulang ya ke rumah.
So that was a miracle. My parents never even talk about what happened in the 2.5 years. My mom was healed, and then they told me to come back home during Lebaran. What is Muslim? Lebaran? It's a Muslim holiday. Yeah. It's like Muslims Christmas, right? Something like that.
Itu saya benar-benar nggak nyangka. Saya selama itu berdoa memang Tuhan, saya pengen pulang ke keluarga saya, pengen ada pemulihan hubungan walaupun mereka nggak terima, walaupun mereka belum terima Tuhan nggak apa-apa, tapi paling nggak terima saya dengan kondisi saya saat ini dan doa saya dijawab Tuhan.
So that was what I was prayed for because I really wanted to be restored. There's a restoration with my family and I prayed, Lord, it's okay if they haven't accepted my faith yet, as long as they accepted me as a daughter, as a person.
Ya akhirnya Coki juga bisa kenal keluarga saya yang kandung. Setelah 2,5 tahun itu dia nggak pernah tahu.
So finally, Choki also was able to know my real family after 2.5 years, never met them.
Dan singkat cerita akhirnya kami memutuskan untuk menikah dan keluarga juga nggak ada masalah karena mereka tahu saya menikah dengan pilihan saya bukan karena, dan saya dulu Kristen bukan karena seseorang atau siapapun, saya jauh ketemu sebelum ketemu Coki.
So finally we decided to get married and there was no issues with my family because they knew that I became a Christian because of my own choice, not because of Choki, before I even met him.
Ya, dan sampai saat ini pun keluarga memang belum terima Tuhan dan itu terus kami bawa dalam doa untuk mereka boleh terima keselamatan yang sama. Tapi mereka saat ini welcome banget sama kami, bahkan kalau Natal itu suka ngucapin, saling ngucapin, kemudian setiap lebaran kami ke rumah mama gitu, dan mereka pun karena mereka tinggal di luar kota, jadi mereka kalau ke Jakarta pasti senangnya tinggal sama kami sekarang.
So even though they're not Christians, but our relationship is already restored. So even for Christmas, they will say Merry Christmas to us, and vice versa. We will, in their holiday, we will greet them as well. And because they live out of the city, every time they come to our place, they will choose to stay with us.
Ya, dan saya percaya mereka bisa begitu karena Tuhan memang gerakan hati mereka dan karena mereka melihat banyak perubahan yang terjadi pada diri saya. Jadi saya mau bilang kalau kita sebagai orang Kristen, kalau kita bilang kita anak Allah, ya tunjukkan itu karena kita adalah Alkitab berjalannya Tuhan.
So I believe that they're able to accept us is because of the changes that they see in my life. So I wanted to say to you, if we confess that we are Christians, let our life show who we really are, because we are the walking Word of God.
Dan ternyata memang masalah yang Tuhan izinkan terjadi itu karena Tuhan mau bentuk karakter kita untuk jadi manusia baru. Jadi kalau kita lagi punya masalah ya jangan menggerutu atau menyalahkan Tuhan, tapi syukuri aja karena kita tahu Tuhan punya rencana untuk ini.
So the problem that we gone through, we have to know is because God wanted to mold our character. So do not complain, because at the end of it, there's always a purpose of God that is good for you.
Ya, dan sampai saat ini pun Tuhan masih izinkan saya untuk melayani teman-teman yang Tuhan pertemukan, yaitu yang ngalamin nasib yang sama, hal yang sama saya, yang lagi bermasalah sama keluarganya karena ikut Tuhan, dan yang banyaklah yang sama, sampai akhirnya saya bisa nguatin mereka dan ngasih mereka dorongan untuk berani gitu.
So until now, the Lord opened up a ministry through friends that's also going through the same thing as me, those that have been experiencing problems with their family because they chose to be a Christian.
Iya, dan masalah itu nggak akan pernah bawa kita malah lebih jatuh, tapi kalau kita ngandalin Tuhan justru bawa kita lebih tinggi lagi. Tuhan gantikan berkali lipat ganda seperti janjinya.
So the problem will not bring you down, but if you lean on God, the problem will bring you higher to the Lord.
Sekarang digantikan berkali lipat ganda. Keluarga saya ada banyak, kakak-kakak saya ada banyak, mama papa saya ada 2. Ya, dan sampai sekarang keluarga angkat saya ini kita deket banget, bener-bener nggak ada kayak bukan keluarga kandung gitu.
So God replaces everything and give me double for my trouble. So He gave me two set of parents, 2 dads and 2 moms, and I'm really close with them, and it doesn't even feel like an adopted family. It feels like my real family.
Iya, jadi jangan pernah takut kalau ada masalah, bawa ke Tuhan. Jangan pernah ninggalin dia, jangan pernah nanya why me God, why me. Itu yang kuncinya cuma satu, saya dulu nggak pernah nanya Tuhan kenapa kayak gini ya Tuhan, tapi saya cuma cari dia dan percaya sama dia.
So if you experiencing problem, Don't ask the Lord, why me? But always believing in Him. Just seek Him. And at the end, He will answer you.
Terima kasih udah dikasih kesempatan untuk bersaksi di sini. God bless you all.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify here. God bless you.
Thank you.
Makasih.
Evelyn, thank you so much, Mrs. Evelyn. You did a great job in translation. Thank you so much. Oh, perfect. Can I have the keyboardist?
Keyboard.
Can I have some? Oh, sorry for that, bro. We need that. We need you more than you ever know. Let's close this testimony with a song that God has put in your heart about how He became so faithful to you in the midst of your troubles and hardships. Yet He always show you that you are His beloved one, and you are precious, and God always has something
Amen.
in store for you. Can you play in E? E, yeah, E, it's E, yeah. E. And Elsa, 17 months.
On.
Yeah.
Kami punya 2 anak, Abigail 5 tahun dan Elsa 17 bulan.
Betul. You know how amazing it was that you heard from my wife about her testimony?
Saudara sudah dengar bagaimana ajaibnya kesaksian dari istri saya, dia mengenal Tuhan.
It was very real.
Itu adalah sesuatu yang sangat nyata.
That's what the difference. That's what make the difference between us who know God and who is experiencing God.
Itu adalah perbedaan tentang kita yang mengenal Tuhan, yang sudah mengalami Tuhan di dalam hidup kita.
It's really important to have those journey with God in your life.
Sangat penting untuk mengalami sendiri perjalanan iman kita dengan Tuhan.
This is my very first time to preach at 2:25 a.m. Jakarta time.
Ini adalah pertama kali saya berkhotbah pada jam 2.25 pagi. Ini juga pertama kali saya khotbah bahasa Indonesia.
I make my own history, but it's not about my story, but it's about Him.
Saya membuat sejarah saya, tapi bukan untuk saya, tapi untuk Dia.
I told Pastor Harry last night, I said, Pastor, here's my resume about what God has put in my life, how to have Jesus in our business.
Tuhan, saya bilang sama Pastor Harry, Pastor ini adalah apa yang Tuhan sudah taruh di hati saya, PowerPoint saya tentang bagaimana kita menaruh Tuhan Yesus di tengah-tengah bisnis kita.
But then my wife took 40 minutes of delivering her testimonies, which is actually, it's okay, very, very okay.
Tapi kemudian istri saya mengambil waktu 40 menit untuk bersaksi, tapi itu nggak apa-apa, sangat baik kesaksian yang bagus.
We can't limit God. We can't limit the things that He already put in your heart, and He wants to speak it out through you.
Ya. Kita tidak bisa membatasi Tuhan, karena itu Tuhan yang mau berbicara melalui kesaksian Caca.
So it's never been a problem for me, but we'll finish it later in the room.
Tapi bukan jadi masalah, tapi nanti kita bicara lagi ya di rumah ya.
All right, now
Baiklah.
would you please just you just can keep it later on. I'll just give out my testimony because this is a really important thing. Last night we had the Battle of Event on the Seattle University, and now it was a different treatment God has put in my heart before when I was sat there, and He said that this is gonna be the battle of testimony.
So tadi malam kita sudah mengalami Battle of Talent, jadi perlombaan talenta. Tapi waktu saya duduk di sini mendengarkan kesaksian istri saya, lalu saya merasa Tuhan berkata ini selanjutnya adalah pertandingan kesaksian. Makanya saya akan bersaksi.
Jadi saudaraku tadi ketika Anda melihat istri saya bersaksi, harusnya ya saya duluan yang bersaksi.
So when you saw my wife giving a testimony, actually it has to be me that gave testimony first.
Kenapa begitu? Karena saya merasa dulu tahun 2010 pertama kali kami berjumpa, saya yang saksian duluan, saya pikir hidup saya udah paling susah. Ternyata ada dia yang lebih susah.
Because when I met her at the year 2005, I've already think that I have the hardest life, but she came up with even harder life than me.
That was beyond my expectation anyway.
Jadi itu di luar ekspektasi saya.
Betul.
It's the same.
Saya lahir dari keluarga yang sangat sederhana.
I was born from a very simple family.
Keluarga yang selama lebih dari 23 tahun tidak pernah keluar dari krisis keuangan.
So, a family that for more than 23 years never get out of the financial crisis.
It is true.
They're all take a while to think about.
Tidak semua yang saya inginkan disediakan oleh orang tua saya.
Not everything that I wanted was provided by my parents.
Bahkan waktu saya kecil, saya ditolong oleh om dan tante kami untuk dibiayai uang sekolahnya.
Even when I was younger, my aunt and uncle has to provide it for me to be able to go to school.
Karena papa saya tidak pernah punya pekerjaan tetap.
Because my dad never has a fixed job.
Dia pernah menjadi kepala keamanan di sebuah hotel bintang 3.
He has been a head of security in a 3-star hotel
Di kota Bandung.
in the city of Bandung.
Dia pernah menjadi supervisor atau mandor dari proyek-proyek lepas.
He has been a supervisor of independent projects
Dan juga pernah menjadi supir bagi keluarganya.
and also became a driver to his family.
Dan ibu saya adalah seorang yang punya talenta menggunting rambut dan membuat pola baju.
And my mom has a talent to cut hair and making pattern for clothes.
Dari situlah kami bisa sekolah.
That's how they provided for us to go to school.
Mama dan papa saya selalu bertengkar soal siapa yang akan menyediakan makanan di meja.
My mom and dad always argue about who will provide the food on the table.
Dan papa saya memang kesulitan untuk mendapatkan uang lebih untuk menyediakan kebutuhan kami.
And my dad was struggling to provide for us financially.
Setiap hari sebagai anak paling tua saya menyaksikan pertengkaran itu.
Every day as the eldest son, I saw them argue.
Maka doa saya adalah, Tuhan, kalau bisa sediakan uang yang cukup atau suatu saat saya harus punya kebebasan finansial agar hal seperti ini tidak terjadi dalam keluarga saya.
So my prayer has always been, Lord, when I grow up, I want to have enough money so I don't have to go through what my parents went through.
Tahun 99 saya mendaftar ke Akademi Militer di Magelang untuk bergabung dengan Angkatan Darat Indonesia agar hidup saya bisa dibiayai oleh negara, bukan oleh orang tua saya.
So in the year of 1999, I joined the military academy to join the army so that the government can provide for me, not my family.
Tetapi setelah lulus semua tes dan persyaratan, ketika saya akan berangkat keesokan harinya, hari itu saya batalkan keberangkatan saya dan saya bilang sama papa saya, "Pa, saya nggak jadi berangkat ya."
So when the day came for me to go, I cancel everything and I told my dad, okay, I don't think I will go.
Lalu papa saya bilang, "Hah, kenapa?" Saya mau kejar mimpi terbesar saya untuk menjadi seorang pembicara publik, saya bilang begitu.
Because I told my dad, I want to follow my dreams to become a public presenter
Yeah.
that is famous.
Yeah, public speaker, TV host, and whatever.
Yeah.
That's because I saw some people who inspired me a lot, like all the seniors in my field, like Mr. If you know them, those big names, Kus Hendratmo, Bob Tutupoli, or Chris Biantoro, the late Chris Biantoro.
Jadi saya melihat banyak senior-senior yang memberikan saya inspirasi di dalam bidang presenter ini seperti Chris Biantoro, Bob Tutupoli. I know because I'm old too.
Jadi saya beranikan ke papa saya bilang, "Pak, saya nggak usah ke militer karena saya rasa di hati saya punya bakat itu."
So I dare to say that to my dad. I didn't have to be in the military because I know in my heart I have that talent to be a presenter.
Papa saya khawatir sebenarnya karena saya memilih pilihan yang mungkin saja salah bagi dia. Tetapi sebagai seorang ayah, meskipun dia nggak punya pekerjaan tetap, dia nggak punya gelar, tapi hati dia luar biasa bagi saya. Dia bilang begini, "Kejar yang kamu mau, saya dukung apapun."
So even though I know my dad worried about me and he didn't think that that is not the dream that I should pursue, but being a good father, he told me to pursue my dream and he will support me.
Papa saya bahkan tidak punya motor, tidak punya baju bagus, dia bahkan sampai dia meninggal tahun 2003, dia nggak punya handphone.
So my dad didn't own a motorcycle, he didn't own any nice clothes. Even when he passed away in the year of 2003, he didn't own a cell phone.
Tapi papa saya bilang, apa yang kamu butuhkan saya akan bantu. Saya sebagai anak butuh sekali kekuatan moral dari orang tua saya.
But my dad always says, whatever that you need, I will provide for you. And as a son, I need that moral support from my father.
Saya ingat, papa saya kan tahu saya itu suka roti ya. Jadi di Bandung itu ada toko roti tua, namanya, kok tiba-tiba hilang? Bukan Abadi Bu, ada lagi Bu, sebentar, kok saya tiba-tiba lupa ya? No, Unyil is in Bogor, ma'am. I'm from Bandung. Would you tell them first? Would you tell them first that I love bread so much?
So I like
I got it.
bread so much, and my dad knows that I love bread so much. There's an old store in Bandung, that's what is called?
Sido Dadi.
That called Sido Dadi.
Right
That's the
in-
name of the bakery.
Exactly, right in the main street of Otto Iskandar Dinata. Exactly, ma'am. Are you coming from Bandung? Oh, ma'am. Would you treat me a lunch after this? No, thank you. Sorry. I was joking.
Jadi toko rotinya ada di jalan utama
Otista.
Otista.
Saking papa saya tahu saya suka roti, beliau suka bawain saya roti pulang ketika dia pulang kerja. Tapi kalau orang lain beli roti 12, 15, papi saya hanya mampu belikan 1 bungkus roti.
So because my dad knows how much I love bread, every time he goes to work, he always buy me bread. But some people probably buy 12 or 15. My dad was only able to buy me 1.
Rotinya dibungkus dalam plastik warna putih
The bread was wrapped in a white plastic,
dan dia bawa sepanjang hari dalam saku celananya, naik turun angkot sepanjang hari.
and he put that bread inside his pocket as he went on and off the public transportation.
Waktu dia pulang malam, dia tunjukkan rotinya di depan pintu. Dia bilang, "Hey Coki, saya punya sesuatu buat kamu." Rotinya sudah bejek.
So
Crushed like this.
as he went home at night, he said, "Hey Choki, I have something for you," but the bread has already crumbled, damaged.
Yet still soft and warm.
Tapi masih lembek dan panas karena ditaruh di kantong.
Dan kejadian itulah yang menginspirasi saya di kemudian hari untuk menjadi seorang pengusaha roti. Papa saya nggak tahu, saya sudah punya toko roti.
So that incident that inspired me to have a bread business, my dad didn't know, but I already own a bakery.
Saya mau sampaikan sama saudara begini.
I wanted to tell you this.
Keadaanmu mungkin saja kurang beruntung. Mungkin saja banyak tekanan. Mungkin saja lebih baik orang lain daripada kita.
You might have unfavorable circumstances in your life and you see that other people have more favorable circumstances.
Tetapi Tuhan sanggup mengubahkan itu untuk tetap mengirim damai sejahtera dan memperbaiki hidup Anda.
But God is able to change your circumstances so that you will have peace and a good future.
Tahun 99 ketika saya mulai coba untuk kuliah dengan biaya pas-pasan,
In the year 1999, as I tried to go to college with a very limited funds,
akhirnya saya drop out 2 tahun kemudian karena nggak punya uang lagi.
in the next 2 years I dropped out of college because I didn't have any more money.
Kemudian saya akhirnya pindah ke Jakarta untuk menjadi seorang wartawan atau jurnalis.
Then I moved to Jakarta to become a journalist.
Saya dapat gaji tahun 2002 adalah 1,6 juta rupiah.
My salary in the year of 2002 is 1.6 million rupiah, which is how much?
many dollars?
$100.
$100
$120
a month.
a month.
Bagi saya waktu itu cukup 1,6 juta bagi orang yang belum sarjana dan diterima di perusahaan itu.
For me, that is a pretty good salary for someone who hasn't finished their bachelor degree.
Kemudian saya tinggal di sebuah
kamar kecil, kos-kosan kita menyebutnya.
So I rent a small room and I stayed there.
Dan setiap hari saya mengandalkan Tuhan karena nggak ada lain yang bisa diandalkan.
Every day I depend on the Lord because there's no one else that I could depend on.
Tetapi ketika di akhir bulan saya terima gaji,
But at the end of the month when I received my salary,
saya selalu ingat satu hal penting ini,
I always remember this one important thing.
perpuluhan.
Tithe. To give tithing.
Sedikit mundur ke belakang,
So we moved back a little bit.
pada tahun 99 itu,
In the year 1999 as well,
saya juga kerja lepas sebagai penyiar radio,
I also work independently as a radio
announcer.
announcer, radio announcer.
So, and I got my salary about 60,000 rupiah per month.
And gaji saya waktu itu adalah 60.000 rupiah satu bulan. Which
How many
is
is it in
like
dollars?
$5. $5.
In a month, sir, ma'am, in a month.
Yeah.
Tapi waktu itu, waktu saya terima 60.000, saya suka cita karena itu hasil kerja keras saya kan.
But when I received that $5, I was so overwhelmed with joy because that is the result of my hardship.
Kemudian suatu ketika saya mau pamer 60.000 ini sama tante saya yang sudah diam dalam Tuhan dan dia mengerti benar hidup dalam Tuhan.
So I wanted to show off, want to tell my aunt that has known the Lord, and I want to show her that this is the result of my hard work.
Saya berharap ada pujian dari dia. Saya bilang begini, Namburu, Namburu is in Korean language. Sorry, Namburu is in Bataknis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I said N, which is in Korean language. Namulu. No, just kidding. Yeah, N.
Saya bilang, Namburu, saya punya gaji sendiri loh.
Aunt, I have my own salary.
Saya pikir dia akan bilang, wah kamu hebat Coki, selamat ya.
I expect her to praise me and say, wow, what a good job you did.
Kamu lebih baik daripada bapak kamu.
You're better than your dad.
Tapi dia bilang begini ke saya,
But instead, this is what she said.
jangan lupa perpuluhan.
Don't forget to tithe.
I said, God, Lord, are you sure you still want my 6,000 rupiah?
Lalu saya berkata, Tuhan, ini cuma $5. Apa benar Tuhan masih mau 6.000 rupiah buat perpuluhan?
You own this huge universe and you still need my 6,000 rupiah?
Kak, Tuhan engkau memiliki universe yang luas ini, masa Tuhan masih butuh $6.000, 6.000 rupiah?
Lalu sebelum saya dapat jawaban itu,
So before I received the answer,
tante saya malah nantang lagi.
my aunt challenged me.
Dia bilang begini, kalau bisa kasih yang namanya buah sulung.
Even if you can, give the first fruit.
What is the first fruit, Namburu?
Apa itu lagi buah sulung?
Semua yang kamu punya di hasil pertama kamu kembalikan ke Tuhan.
Everything that you receive as a first fruit, maybe first salary, you give it back to the Lord.
Saya geleng-geleng kepala.
And then I shake my head.
Tapi karena tante saya hidup dalam Tuhan dan hidupnya telah menjadi kesaksian,
But because my aunt has lived in the Lord and her life is a testimony for me,
saya meminjam iman dia saat itu
I borrowed her faith at that time
dan saya mengembalikan semuanya ke Tuhan.
and I gave the Lord the first fruit, all 60,000 rupiah.
You may clap your hands, but I was in a pathetic situation. Thank you.
Mungkin saudara bertepuk tangan, tapi kondisi saya waktu itu adalah sangat menyedihkan.
Kembali ke 2002.
So back to the year of 2002,
Saya langsung berpikir untuk memotong 160.000 rupiah untuk perpuluhan.
so I decided to give 160,000 rupiah to tithe from my salary.
Tolong bantu hitung ya.
Please help calculate it.
350.000 rupiah adalah biaya kos-kosan saya sebulan.
So I need 350,000 rupiah to pay for my living expenses to rent the room.
350.000 rupiah lagi saya harus cicil ke tante saya karena saya beli handphone lewat kartu kredit dia.
And another 350,000 I have to pay my aunt because I use her to credit a cell phone for me.
Kemudian 500.000 rupiah saya transfer ibu saya di Bandung.
And then 500,000 rupiah I transferred to my mom in Bandung.
Totalnya berapa ya tadi?
What's the total?
1.2 million, right?
So 1.2 million rupiah.
Plus perpuluhan 160.000.
Plus tithing 160,000 rupiah.
Praktis saya punya 240.000 rupiah untuk hidup dalam sebulan.
So all that is left is 240,000 rupiahs, which is $20 to live for a whole month.
Anda mungkin berpikir, kamu lagi bercanda ya Coki ya?
Maybe you think I was joking.
Enggak, saya lagi bersaksi di mimbar dan tidak boleh berbohong.
And I was giving a testimony and I couldn't lie. This is not a lie.
Kalau Anda pikir itu hanya fiktif dan film dokumenter, saya masih hidup sampai sekarang.
And if you think that it's a fiction and it's a documentary, I still live until now.
Kadang-kadang kita berharap Tuhan membuka langit, kemudian turunkan aset buat kita kelola.
Sometimes we expect the Lord to open the sky and send us assets for us to manage.
Tetapi ternyata Tuhan nggak bekerja dengan cara seperti itu.
But the Lord doesn't work that way.
Dia lebih suka untuk mendidik kita, memelihara kita dari menit ke menit, hari ke hari.
He likes to teach us by providing for us minute by minute, day by day.
Hal yang sederhana saja adalah ketika Anda ditraktir makan siang oleh kawan Anda. Sebenarnya itu cara Tuhan untuk memperpanjang hidup saya.
So a simple thing is when your friends pay for your lunch, that's actually the Lord's way to lengthen my life on earth.
Saya belajar bersyukur dari hal-hal kecil seperti itu.
I learned how to give thanks from the small things like that.
Tetapi saya pernah hidup di dalam hal yang disebut kebiasaan orang Kristen. Doa tuh biasa, lama-lama ninggalin kebiasaan baik itu.
So, but I also learned what they call the Christianity habit. So prayer becomes something that is habitual, and I started to live that habit.
Contoh, waktu saya sudah mulai masuk tahun kedua di Jakarta, saya mulai pelan-pelan meninggalkan kebiasaan baca Alkitab.
So, for example, when I entered the second year in Jakarta, I don't read the Bible anymore.
Karena bagi saya setiap hari, kalaupun saya lupa baca Alkitab, pemeliharaan Tuhan tetap nyata.
Because even if I don't read the Bible and I skip a day, the Lord still provides and keep me alive.
Dan Tuhan tetap menyelamatkan saya dari bahaya.
And God still saves me from danger.
Jadi saya pikir Tuhan akan mengerti kalau saya skip.
So I know that the Lord will understand if I skip reading the Bible.
Saya menganggap siapa saya yang selalu kecil, terlalu kecil, dan banyak orang yang harus diperhatikannya.
And I always said, oh, I'm too small. You have other people also to take care of.
Tetapi Tuhan nggak mau seperti itu.
But the Lord doesn't want me to live like that.
Tuhan mau kita punya gaya hidup menyembah.
The Lord wants us to have a lifestyle as a worshiper.
Tahun 2005 saya mengalami sakit penyakit, sesuatu yang saya tidak pernah duga akan ada di tubuh saya.
2005, I experienced a kind of disease that I never expected I would experience.
Saya kena virus hepatitis.
I got hepatitis virus.
Dan kondisi fisik saya ketika itu, badan saya kurus sekali, perut saya buncit, mata saya celong ke dalam, dan badan saya kuning.
So I became skinny and I have a big belly and my eyes start to sunken and my skin became yellow.
Saya nggak tahu penyakit apa itu, dan saya mencoba bertahan.
I didn't know what kind of disease and I tried to survive.
Saya nggak suka dokter,
I do not like doctors
dan tidak berencana menikahi dokter.
and I don't plan to marry a doctor.
Jadi saya pikir, sudahlah, I'm a man, I can struggle myself and I can endure from this.
Jadi saya berkata, ya udahlah, saya ini lelaki, saya bisa bertahan, saya bisa mengatasi ini semua.
Tapi suatu pagi ketika saya minta dibuatkan mie instan untuk sarapan, mohon maaf, saya muntah.
So in the morning when I asked someone to make me instant noodle, I suddenly threw up.
Dan saya dibawa ke laboratorium untuk cek darah.
And they brought me to a lab to check my blood.
Malam harinya saya masuk UGD.
And at night I was in the hospital.
Karena liver saya sudah mengecil dan virus ini sudah ada di tubuh saya sekitar 2 tahun.
Because my liver has shrunken and this virus has lived in my body for 2 years.
Saya tidak suka rumah sakit.
I do not like hospitals.
Bukan karena baunya atau gedungnya,
Not because of the smell or the building,
tapi karena biayanya.
because of the expenses.
Karena di tahun 2005 itu saya baru saja keluar dari pekerjaan saya sebagai wartawan.
Because in the year 2005, I just quit my job as a reporter.
Dan saya baru memulai karir sebagai freelancer pembawa acara televisi.
So I just began my career as a freelance TV host.
Dan itu sulit awalnya karena saya harus melamar pekerjaan lama sekali, ketok pintu sana sini, gagal berkali-kali.
And it was a hard process because I have to apply it here and there, knocking on the door. It's a difficult process.
Dan saya ada di rumah sakit.
And I'm in the hospital.
Saya bilang, Tuhan, ini bukan Yeremia 29 ayat 11 yang saya baca.
And I said, Lord, this is not the Bible of Jeremiah 29 verse 11 that I read.
Di mana rancangan damai sejahteranya ya Tuhan?
Where is the plan and the purpose for my life?
I started to complain about myself, my situation, and I started to complain about Him who designed my life.
Saya mulai menggerutu tentang Tuhan, tentang rencananya, dan saya mulai komplain sama Tuhan.
Saya ada di kelas 3 di kamar rumah sakit.
I'm in the third class in the hospital.
Tidak ada orang yang bisa diajak bicara karena semuanya bawa penyakit.
You can't talk to anyone because everyone is with disease.
Dan saya dapat ranjang paling ujung dekat jendela.
And I got the bed near the window.
Saya pikir ada satu rancangan saya pagi-pagi, saya buka jendela, saya lihat ada pepohonan, ada burung.
And when I opened the window in the morning, I saw the trees and I saw bird.
That was my hope actually.
Dan itu adalah harapan saya.
Tapi begitu dibuka isinya beton.
But when I opened the window, I actually just see walls.
No hope at that time.
Ya nggak ada harapan waktu itu.
Tapi Tuhan berbicara begini.
But the Lord spoke to me this way.
Dia mengasihiku
He loves me
dan Dia merindukanku.
and He wants me to draw closer to Him.
He said to me, Choki, I miss you so much. How do you get your time to read my words?
Coki, saya merindukan engkau. Di mana kamu punya waktu untuk membaca firman-Ku?
Saya seperti ketampar begitu.
I feel like I was slapped.
Karena selama 2 tahun ke belakang, hidup saya seperti tadi, saya melupakan kebiasaan baik yang dibangun, yaitu sebuah hubungan.
Because for the past 2 years, I forgot that good habit that's been built, which is building a relationship with the Lord.
Dan sebenarnya hubungan itu yang Tuhan mau.
And actually that relationship is what the Lord wants.
Bisa saja saat itu dengan kondisi saya yang parah, saya langsung pergi meninggalkan dunia. Tapi Tuhan beri kesempatan.
The Lord can just take my life back then because I was really sick, but God gave me a second chance.
Lalu di kamar itu, di ranjang itu, saya juga mendapatkan sebuah pewahyuan. Tuhan katakan bahwa masa depanmu sungguh ada dan harapanmu nggak akan hilang.
So in that bed, in that room, I also received a revelation for the Lord. The Lord told me that I have a future and it's not gone.
Tetapi kenyataannya saat itu saya di rumah sakit dan saya nggak tahu pulangnya kapan.
But the reality is I was in the hospital and I didn't know when they're gonna release me.
Ternyata iman itu memang harus dimiliki dan dilihat sebagai sesuatu yang belum terjadi.
So faith is something that you have to own before you see the reality.
Means that if you own that faith, you have to put your trust in that faith 100% without any doubt.
Berarti kalau saudara mau mempunyai iman, saudara harus menaruh kepercayaan saudara kepada iman tersebut tanpa rasa ragu-ragu.
Itu terjadi tahun 2005.
That happened in the year 2005.
2016 saya ada di Seattle. Siapa yang pikir ini terjadi?
In 2016, here I am in Seattle. Who think that this is possible?
Saya bahkan tidak bermimpi bahwa saya akan keluar negeri.
I've never expected that I would go abroad.
Saya pertama kali keluar negeri tahun 2007 ke negara Singapura di umur saya yang sudah 24, 25.
So the first time I went to abroad is to Singapore when I was 24.
Dan itu pun dibayarin.
And someone paid for my ticket back then.
Saya akan lupakan ini. Would you please, ya nggak apa-apa sih, gambarnya bagus memang. It's okay.
I'm going to forget this.
I'm not gonna talk about this, but this is my life testimony. Bahwa uang itu bukan masalah.
So, ini adalah kesaksian saya that money is not a problem.
Even bad habit is not a problem.
Bahkan kebiasaan buruk pun bukan masalah.
But if you don't have relationship with God, then you're in trouble.
Tapi kalau saudara tidak punya hubungan dengan Tuhan, saudara punya masalah.
Karena setiap hari kita akan berhadapan dengan masalah finansial, masalah kebiasaan buruk, masalah respon orang-orang yang nggak sesuai harapan kita.
Because every day we are faced with this problem, financial problem, future problem, the problem with people that don't respond according to what we want.
Jadi itulah hal yang namanya hidup.
But that is life.
Itu yang harus dihadapi dengan respon yang benar.
That's what you need to face with the right response.
Dan respon yang benar hanya ada di dalam pengertian yang benar tentang hidup.
And the right response is only coming with the right understanding about life,
Yaitu apa yang Tuhan rancangkan dalam hidup kita.
which is what the Lord has planned for our lives.
You are not the architect.
Kamu bukan arsiteknya.
I'm so sorry, you are not the producer.
Saudara bukan produser.
You are not the director of the
Saudara
movie.
bukan direktur
Sutradara.
atau
Ya,
apa lagi?
the art director, producer.
Producer.
Tetapi engkau adalah pemain film itu sendiri.
But you are the actor and the actresses of from the movie directors.
Yang harus dapat pengarahan dari sutradara itu.
That you need the producer, you need someone to direct you, to tell you what to do.
Seandainya saudara mau mendengarkan arahan itu saja,
If you want to listen to that instruction or direction,
nah hidup Anda akan baik-baik saja
your life will be okay,
meskipun Anda babak belur.
even though you're not okay.
You understand that?
Saudara mengerti?
You will be okay even though you're not okay.
Saudara akan baik-baik saja meskipun hidup saudara babak belur.
That means that Who's the keyboardist player? Can I have you again?
Keyboard
sir?
Vincent.
Siapa namanya?
Vincent.
Vincent, sorry itu untuk merepotkan. Saya melihat dalam hidup saya,
I see in my life
ketika Tuhan pulihkan ekonomi keluarga kami,
when God restore our financial economy,
semua dimulai dari satu hal,
everything begins from one thing,
yaitu ketaatan.
that is obedience.
When you obey your God,
Waktu kita mentaati Tuhan kita,
and at the same time you don't know where you're heading to,
dan waktu yang bersamaan kita juga tidak melihat kemana kita akan pergi,
it's like you're acting like Moses,
sama saja kita itu sama seperti Musa.
but you're walking to the promised land.
Tapi kita berjalan ke tanah perjanjian.
God has promised you something.
Tuhan sudah menjanjikan kita sesuatu.
You have to trust in Him,
Makanya kita harus percaya kepada Dia.
believe in Him,
Percaya kepada Dia.
never ever been in a doubt with Him,
Jangan pernah kita meragukan Tuhan.
and don't debate Him.
Jangan kita argue sama Tuhan.
Saya bersyukur saya kenal dengan Yoyon dan Ira, my brother and sister.
I'm thankful that I know Pak Yoyon and Ibu Ira.
They both made us here,
Mereka yang membawa kami datang ke sini.
sehingga kami boleh kenal dengan Pastor Harry
So we are able to know Pastor Harry.
dan juga dengan Ibu Evelyn.
Jangan saya.
And to be in the midst of the beautiful people of Seattle
Dan ada di tengah-tengah anda-anda yang cantik.
or Shoreline, is it Shoreline?
Shoreline, ya Shoreline, kota Shoreline.
Mungkin pesannya Tuhan sederhana pagi ini,
Maybe the Lord's message is simple this morning,
tapi memang Dia nggak mau bikin Anda ribet,
but He doesn't like to complicate your life.
because your life is full of complications.
Karena hidup saudara memang udah ribet.
When the oceans roar and thunders roar, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are God. Thank you, Jesus. Over the flood, and I will be still. Know you're my God. Di saat badai bergelora, ku akan terbang bersamamu. Bapa kau Raja atas semesta, ku tenang sebab kau Allahku. I would just close this with a short prayer to all of you fellow Christians here. Thank you so much for accepting us here to be in this main service. You know, it's not about our ministry. It's never been ours. It's always been His ministry. We are only His tools. Whoever you are who are standing here behind this line, play some music and give your best efforts to make all these things happen. Do you realize that there is a spirit in you? Do you realize that it's not about your good voice or it's not about your knowledge or wisdom, but it's about the source? And whoever you are now, sitting right there with all your problems and troubles, when you came here today, it wasn't a coincidence. It's not about the speaker. You might never know me before, but you know that God has something for you, even a simple message to speak out today. So please be confident in God. Have a confidence in Him. Have an open heart for Him to come in and fix something right there. Because He's the engineer of your life. He's the architect, He's the designer of your life. Ever happened in my life before? Several times, so many times. I couldn't tell you today. I'm so sorry. I'm not gonna be able to say everything to you. And you must have me in the future if you want to. Again, we'll find some ways to come back here again and share another testimony with my lovely wife and even with my daughters. That if we have this family now, it's out of the box. It's really out of our design. I don't even realize that God will have such a favor on us. I don't deserve it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't deserve it. We don't deserve our situation right now. The good one, actually, no. We don't deserve it. But yet, He still gives you all those good things because He loves you so much. Who believes that He loves you so much here? Would you please raise your hands? Thank you. Let's have faith. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for today's sermon. Thank you for giving us a beautiful opportunity to share the lights and life testimony. Even I was having my own resume for this. I have my own design of your words. I know it is great too to say to the congregation, but then you said no. It's not about that multimedia presentation. It's about you delivering your testimony